Hey, it's Kevin from Aquatic Artists. I want to talk a bit about how we use different AI models. So for most of our employees, we're using ChatGPT and or Google Gemini. And there's a reason to use multiple models. One, each platform has its strengths and weaknesses. When we do computer programming, we're using Anthropic's Claude. But between Google Gemini and OpenAI's ChatGPT, there's not only a lot of models for them, but each platform has its strengths. So we find that having both available can be helpful. The other thing, or one thing that I don't think is talked enough about, is the fact that AI is great, but AI is not infallible. And especially at this early stage of all these large language models, there are lots of times that the answer you get is not correct. It might be correct for a different situation. It might be correct based on a different set of facts. But for the question you asked and your intention, the answer you get back is not correct. And that is really challenging if you're using it as your engineering platform, if you're using it for legal, if you're using it for all these core aspects of your business. So what we find is it can be really helpful if I ask ChatGPT a question. I'm trying to get an answer, let's say for zoning regulations, about a town that first time we're working there, and there's something coming up with zoning. And I asked ChatGPT to pull zoning regulations and tell me about what restrictions we have, and I get an answer. And maybe that answer is exactly what I want. I'll still go over to Google Gemini and ask it, I'll feed in the response and say, I was having a conversation with a coworker and this is the research they found. Can you confirm that this is accurate? And then Google Gemini will use its model and go through and try to confirm that information. And it a lot of times will pick up issues with the initial answer. Some of that has to do with how you ask the question. Some of it has to do with making sure you provide enough information in your prompt that it's not giving you a generic answer, that it's very specific to your need. But some of it is just large language models make mistakes. They pull a massive amount of data and they're more or less guessing what data, what answer applies to your question. And it's not always right. So by having multiple models available, and sometimes that could also be with ChatGPT, you could use like a 4.0 mini, a very quick model, and get a response, but then still in ChatGPT switch to like an 0.3 model, something that takes a lot more time, that thinks a lot more thoroughly, to see if there's even differences in those answers. But I do suggest, and I think it is helpful, to have multiple platforms that you're using and to bounce questions and answers back and forth between the two platforms to make sure that you're thoroughly investigating the information, the answers you're getting back before you're acting on them for anything that's important. So those are some of the tips that I would suggest, some of the things that I've found that have been helpful and have helped our business, and hopefully they help you too. If you get any value from any of the things I've been talking about, or you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day.